The Ottoman Empire in decline. They reached their peak of military expansion in the late 17th century. Later, they were defeated by Austria and Russia. Nationalist uprisings drove Ottomans out of Balkans. The British only supported Ottomans to avoid further Russian expansion. Ottoman economy. Imported cheap manufactured goods placed stress on local artisans, and urban riots resulted. Ottoman economy increasingly relied on foreign loans. By 1882, Ottomans were unable to pay even interest on loans. Muhammad II. Muhammad became a sultan and he reigned from 1808 to 1839. Muhammad's programs remodeled Ottoman institutions. The Tanzimat reorganization era of 1839 to 1876. The pace of reforms accelerated and drafted new law codes. It also undermined the power of traditional religious elite.
The Young Turk era. In 1876, the constitution representative government was adopted, but it was suspended within the year. Many liberals were exiled. The Young Turks Party was founded by Ottomans in exile in Paris. It called for rapid secular reforms. They attempted to establish Turks' hegemony over the far-flung empire.
The Crimean War of 1853 to 1856. The Russians attempted to expand into Caucasus, trying to take control over the failing Ottoman Empire. However, it upset the balance of power, which caused Europeans to be involved. Russia was defeated, and it demonstrated Russia's weaknesses. The emancipation of serfs. Serf rule led to instability and peasant revolt. Tsar Alexander II gave freedom to the serfs without reducing poverty and hunger. The Revolution of 1905. Nicholas II entered a war with Japan. Their humiliating defeat exposed the government's weakness, and discontent boiled over into the Revolution of 1905.
Chinese restriction on British trade. Europeans limited the port of Guangzhou. Foreign merchants forced a deal with licensed Chinese firms, and the British East Indian Company was involved heavily in opium trade.
The opium trade. It was illegal but poorly enforced. Increasing trade and social illnesses became evident by late 1830. The Chinese moved to ban it. The Opium War of 1839 to 1842. British commercial agents were mad at the Chinese for their action against the opium, and they pressed their government into a military retaliation designed to reopen the opium trade. British were attacking Chinese in its main rivers, and in May 1842, the Chinese government sued for peace. Unequal treaties. The British forced Chinese to sign the Treaty of Nanjing in 1842 at the end of the Opium War. This treaty broadened the concessions to foreign powers. They legalized the opium trade and permitted the establishment of Christian missions throughout China. The Taiping Rebellion. The large rebellions that went on in the late 19th century reflected in the poverty in the land. The population rose 50% between the 1800s and 1900s. The Taiping Rebellion, led by Hong Xiuquan, called for destruction of the Qing dynasty. The Taiping defeat. Nanjing was captured in 1858 and was made the capital. The imperial army was unable to contain the Taipings. Hong committed suicide in 1864, and Nanjing was captured, and 100,000 Taipings were massacred. Motives for imperialism. Military had a huge impact on imperialism, along with political, economic, European capitalism. Religion was another key role. However, criminal populations and dissident populations grew. Manifest destiny. Manifest destiny led to the discovery of natural resources. Exploration was made into cheap labor, creating an expansion of market. Technology and imperialism. Transportation was made easier by the creation of steamships and railroads. The Suez Canal was created by Ferdinand de Lesseps and was used between 1859 to 1869. The Panama Canal was created by President Franklin Roosevelt and was used in 1904 to 1940. The jewel of the British Crown, India. East Indian Company was the monopoly of the Indian trade. Mughal empires declined after the death of Aurangzeb, and British and Indian troops were called sepoys.
South African Boer War in 1899 to 1902. Dutch East India established Cape Town in 1652. British took over in 1806 and slavery was a major issue. Afrikaners moved eastward, they established independent republics, and British tolerated it until gold was found. Afrikaners conceded in 1902 and in 1910 integrated into Union of South Africa.
The Berlin-West Africa Conference of 1884 to 1885. 14 European states and the United States met. The rules of colonization was that any European can take unoccupied territory. No African states were present.
European imperialism in the Pacific Islanders. Whalers were seeking ports and merchants seeking sandalwood and sea slugs to sell in China.
The Spanish-Cuban-American War of 1898 and 1899. The U.S. declared war in Spain after battleship Maine sunk in Havana Harbor in 1898. U.S. intervenes in other Caribbean Central American lands, occupies Dominican Republic, Nicaragua, Honduras, and Haiti.
Labor migrations. Europeans moved to temperate lands, and 32 million people were exported to the U.S. in the 1800 to 1914. African, Asians, and Pacific Islanders moved to tropical and subtropical lands to get away. Nationalism. Ram Mohan Roy was called Father of Modern India. Influence of Enlightenment thought often obtained in European universities.
The spread of religion. European missionaries traveled to Africa and Asia in order to spread their religious beliefs and speak of the Holy Bible to try and have other people follow their religion.